Hey, what up? It's Nathan here, and today I wanted to show you my Melody Maker method. Alright, so the first thing that you do is you're going to pick out a basic piano instrument. Just any piano works. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to select a simple 3-note chord pattern. I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to be working either C minor or F minor, I haven't decided yet. And then after you select your chords, you need to build a simple 3-note melody because there's 3 main notes in every chord progression. And I'm not going to go into the music theory of that because that's sort of irrelevant. It's really, you want to go by feel. If you can't find your 3 main driving notes, you're going to kind of lack a little bit of thematic definitiveness, which can sort of alienate listeners. So let's dive right in. We've already got a piano instrument selected, so we're just going to pick these chords. It's going to be very easy. In Studio One, we'll do F minor. That's the one I'm going with now. And just start, whenever you're trying to build a chord out, you can watch my chord tutorial, how to build piano chords very simply. I talk about how to do this. It's actually very easy. And we're just doing a basic, this is a minor chord here. So, you start the first, go to the third, skip the fourth, and get to the fifth. And that's going to be our first chord. And then we can let's do downward movement, because I prefer downward movement with chords. That's just me. Everybody's different. I should probably change that up, otherwise I get boring, but whatever. Let's listen to this really quickly. It's a chord you've heard, different variations of the same kind of movement. It's really interesting. There's certain kinds of movement in chords that are much more popular than others, and this is one that I'm very, very familiar with and I enjoy a lot. And then you can just repeat the 5th chord, or the 5th, the 4th play of your chord. Sometimes people like to change it up a little bit. I want to show you the really simple way to build a melody, and you're not really going to know what you want to do with your 4th playthrough of your chord until you get some kind of melody. So for now, we're just going to stick with these 3 notes. Let's go ahead and add a 4th note, because 3-note chords can be a bit boring, especially if you've done them a lot. And so we're just going to add in a bass note just to give this a little bit more fullness, and perhaps even maybe find a new note to play around with. And so let's just try that. Okay, so that's not terribly special. It's just the bottom note of the chord. It's just being doubled up there. Alright, so let's jump straight into the melody. So if you don't know what to do for your melody and you're trying to come up with an idea, the easiest thing you could do is just duplicate your original chord melody and then transpose it up an octave and then work with that in melodic form. So I'm going to show you how I do that. In Studio One, I can just duplicate track complete. Of it. We'll make it yellow so we know it's our lead, and this is our chord. Alright, so what's really cool about this is Studio One is going to show us what notes we have available to us, but what I really want to do is, my goal as this plays through is to just find 1 or 2 notes just to begin with, sometimes 3, but usually I just start with 2 that really start to create the beginning of a theme. If 2 notes don't draw you in, then good luck getting your 3rd note to work in that sort of combo. since 3 is the promised land. And then once you've got your 3 main notes and they work correctly, and you'll know when you've got it because it will sound great. It'll sound like something that needs to be turned into a track. Once you've got those 3, then you can begin to articulate. And that's where you start to add other notes that aren't the main 3 notes that you've selected. So we're going to show you how to do that. Just follow along, and I promise this is going to be something that you're going to find incredibly useful. And you'll be surprised at just how easy it is to really make melodies this way. All right, so let's just start with a top note. Let's put it up an octave. Actually, let's do it this way. That way I can put them directly on the chord. So move it up an octave. Actually, let's do it 2 octaves just for fun. And then let's put our chord back in. So let's just go with that. Let's just try with these first 2 chords just to build something out. So it's really weird how this works. I don't know why it works. I mean, I just landed on these first kind of 2 offbeat notes, and in my head, I didn't see the point in torturing myself and having to fill out this little gap right here. So I was like, well, that just works. So I just duplicate it out, and then it just repeats, and it's more in like motive territory right now, where it's just a repeating idea. But something sort of popped up in here at the end, and that's just what chords do as they connect with your melodies. You start to kind of want to tell a story with it. So right here, there's a little bit of a note flourish. I don't know if that's the right one yet. Let's listen to it. Bum, bum, bum. Alright, so let's see what else can we add to this melody. So as we look at the notes and we play it, let's just start fooling around with some new melodies here. By the way, at this point, what we're looking for is our second note. We may have already discovered it over here with the F. Right now, foundationally, our 2 notes are actually D and F. So we're actually looking for our 3rd note. It could just be that it's just going to be this F. So right here, we're already beginning to get a pattern. Like if you look over here, the first bar of every 2 bars, so this section right here, this section right here, empty gap could lead to something interesting later. But then the second bar of each 2 bars has a kind of melodic sort of trill or whatever you want to, not really a trill, but it's a change in the sound. So from there, you're going to then begin to sort of add to it if you feel it's necessary. I mean, honestly, from here you can start to build out your drums, and then often as you build out your drums will start to give you ideas as to what to do with the melody. For me personally, I think it's really helpful just to get a foundation, something that you like to begin with. That way you can start building your drums and the rest of your track and hopefully moving into arrangement and away from this sort of 8-bar kind of death trap that many producers fall into. All right, so let's see if we can add some more notes to this. And there we go. All right, so let's listen to it. What can we add? Okay, so as a foundation, what we can do is we can start to fool around by just adding a lot higher notes. So let's check this out. And then you just duplicate the same idea over. This is just what we're doing here is there's patterns and melodies, and one of the main ones that's happening is we added a new note, which is G. That wasn't playing before. But we're still working with, as you can tell, C. We already had C down here, and D, which was the sort of main center down here, right? And then up here, just to give it what appears to be variety, we added an F, but it's just an F from over here, transpose up an octave. So really nothing's been changed or added except for this G, and the rest is just the transposition of the main notes we started with, which is why you need to work it with your three main notes. Figure out how to make those work within multiple octaves, not just one octave. Obviously, this is just one way of creating melodies. This is how I do it, and this is what allows me to keep track of what I'm doing so that I don't get lost or confused. It's a terrible place to be when you're trying to come up with something. Let's get back into this. We got to do something over here at the end because that's the end of our melody. We're not required to, but let's see what happens if we do. Boom, boom, boom. So I'm hearing something. I'm probably going to get it wrong at first. So what's really cool about this technique is after doing it about 10 times, it only takes about 10-minute sessions to do this when you're not explaining it. You start to naturally develop this skill to actually hear where the melody belongs. And it's not just because this is a kind of structured technique. As you do it repeatedly, what starts to happen in your head is that your brain starts to get so familiar with it that actually frees up some of that mental energy and that focus that you'd normally be kind of like clawing your eyes out trying to find melodies and stuff, just experimenting, hoping to find something. It takes that away, it takes that stress away, and kind of lets you focus on just playing around within a medium. And the medium is this kind of 3-note formula that I'm giving you with the 3-note chords and maybe 4-note chords, just keeping it very simple. Because it's when you start to get complex or just outside the boundaries, and this is something that's very common for people who don't have musical backgrounds, if you start to become attracted to very complex things because you think that's going to give you this kind of utopic musical idea that you've been searching for since your music career started, it's actually something that's very simple that's going to blow you away one day. It's not going to be that thing that you toiled away with and you were practically about to give up and then, it just finally came through. That happens, but it's a lot more rare than the simple is beautiful stuff that we see on the regular in pop music and other less conventional styles of music. So simplicity is where it's at. Just keep that in mind when you produce. If it's not simple, you're making a struggle for yourself. And most people don't want that. I don't want that. It's just not fun to make music that way. All right, so let's just play with this a little bit. What we're going to do now is we're actually going to take this melodic idea that we have here, and I'm going to show you how taking it and applying it to a different sound is going to potentially lead to a new idea. So we're just going to put, everything here is pretty bright. So I'm going to take Zeta. Zeta's a little bit downplayed, a little bit of a lo-fi sound. It's my baby. So we're just going to take that and we'll just duplicate this melody up. And something really cool that you can do is, before I do it, let's just show you what we have. And in Zeta, we'll just pull up something random, like a lead. Let's do, there's one that I love, use it all the time. I have a song named after it because it's in that song. All right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to take this, what we have so far, just listen to it, see where it's at, and then I'll show you something really cool. Okay, so something you can do that's really cool to come up with like arpeggio ideas is, once you've got this kind of long pattern, in Studio One you can do this, in most DAWs you can. Because of my never-ending hate for Ableton, I expect them not to have something like this because Ableton's a complete nightmare of a DAW. Anyway, so in case you are using Ableton, I'm sorry, but I'm not, because I've been there and I'm just trying to save you time by being just totally an asshole about this. All right, so let's just show you this. If we play it really fast, it turns sort of into a texture, and we can start to manipulate it in some interesting ways. So I heard something in there, and I'm just going to stretch it out. This is sort of how I'm stealing it. I'm stealing a motive from that melody we made. I'm just like, I'm not putting any extra work to make one. I'm not like trying to guess out what it could be. I'm not trying to remember the notes I use and try to like find it. It's just there. I'm not looking for it. That's stupid. That doesn't work for me. It might not work for you, which is why I'm showing you how to do this. So let's keep going and let's play it with the melody a little bit. So that's our motive right there. We can sort of just lay it in the back. A lot of delay, but yeah, let's just listen to that. Let's play around and let's play it. Alright, cool. So whether you lay that in as a motive or not is up to you, but what's really cool is, say for example, you know, you've built out, if you have trouble building your arrangements, you don't know what to do. Well, one of the simple tricks is just start the beginning of your track with a weaker or less intense form of your main melody. So let's say you have like a kick here, you know, and you're just starting your track out with a kick, or, you know, yeah, just whatever. We'll just do that. We've got like a basic version of our chord to start, and we're like, yeah, this is the beginning of our track, and then we just, so because that's the case, and I'm experimenting with a plugin called Tape right now. I haven't used Tape in forever, but you know, you have the chord kind of filtered down, maybe high pass a little bit, just kind of suck away some of the life, just to make it less energy dense for the intro, and then you kind of build up into this part where it's more dense, and you get something like this. Just really basic stuff. This is how you build out an arrangement. You don't need, it's just, there's so many places that I've seen people get stuck, and I'm saying this because I've been there, and it's not fun, and sometimes it boggles your mind. So what would happen is, you know, you'd have the chord going, it's 8 bars each section, and eventually that melody is going to come in. But notice what happens when you've been listening to this melody for a while, because this is what's so important about arrangement. The process of arranging is going to tell you what you need to do. But if you've been building up this anxiety to doing arrangement and you're afraid to do it, those ideas won't happen because you'll be so afraid you won't hear them. You should be excited to do arrangement. You should have the expectation that doing arrangement is going to give you ideas, because that's typically what it does for the majority of people. So watch what happens as we play this kind of motive melody with a kick for a while. When this melody finally comes in, there's going to be an interesting little kind of like blank question in your head. Something that could be, or that might be, or that should be done. It's going to pop in your head. If it doesn't, don't worry. I'll show you what popped in my head. And then, you know, just as like a really cheap example, you know, right here, you could just take out this, what was it? We take out this melody over here. And then what you can do is, so you took those drums out for 4 bars, which is kind of a weird place to do that. And then you kind of duplicate it across because you really want to make this work. And so you grab Spire, because Spire is your lead maker, and you can comfortably sit it on top of just about anything because it's so bright and just smooth. And then you're like, oh, I'm super desperate. I hope this works. And then so you grab this and you're like, okay, that'll work. And then, you know, you just kind of start to pencil in something to show how it sort of just keeps building. And so right here, just so I know that it's going to work, you duplicate your original melody down. This is going to be sort of your support element. We don't know how it's going to set yet, but we're going to just start by having it sustain. This is going to be in the background. It could be in the front, though. You sort of have a front melody right now. Let's just listen to it without that change. And then what's really cool about working in this sort of dual layer way is that once you have this duplicate of this other layer up here, these are the same thing, you can sort of just experiment with the melody in just one layer And then you can actually A/B the layers against each other just to see which one you like more, as opposed to having to like create a duplicate of the layer, which you can do over here. And it's just a little bit of a shortcut since you have the same instrument happening. You can do something like, you know, like that. Let's just try it. Let's listen to it. Didn't work. That's cool. But let's show you what else we can do, right? So this is a bit of a happy track. It's been coming along. Our Melody Maker method tutorial was basically over about 5 minutes ago, if you didn't notice. But now we're sort of building a track from scratch, which is really cool. And then we're just going to find like a really happy minimal clap. That's where Thomas Penton comes in. He's good for that stuff. Or Copacabana, this guy right here. All right, so let's find a happy clap. Let's go with that. It's just weird enough and not likable enough that I could make it work. Just please work. Please work. I don't want to spend any more time on this. So you've got your little like clap come in, you know, now that everything just came in suddenly over there with that little hyper saw, whatever you call it. And then you're like, okay, cool, yay, this is a pretty happy track. Maybe even add in like a bass, you know, come in Serum, because you're so familiar with Serum, you can just kind of not blast away your original chord, which you just did, but that's okay. Control Z. And then add in Serum. And then just find like a basic bitch and Juno bass. I don't actually have a regular one. I have one in Spire, so we'll put Spire in here. I'm surprised I don't have a basic essential bass. This is your offbeat, kind of meant to emulate a synth, and then we just add that in, and then just plays off the offbeat of our chord, which is going to be the lowest note of our chord. Wondering why our chord isn't showing up. Where is it? There we go. Cool. So Spire, and then you just add in an offbeat bass. Group these all together. Let's just get a little bit of a melodic kind of deal going. Alright, we're not going to get too far ahead of ourselves. So we've got a really basic, super basic bass line. These are all great places to start, because then you can start to figure out, okay, where do I want to sort of do some crazy stuff? But it's sort of difficult to do that if you don't even know what your basic melodic foundation is. 100% of the time, or 80, 90% of the time, this is what my tracks are like the first hour. This is what they look like. Then pretentious Nathan comes in and is like, how can we make this something worthwhile? But most of the time, this is where it starts, and this is where it's at. It's just really cool, because if you listen to it from the start, you're going to see how already we have a story. You know, really cheaply, we can add in some effects that I know would belong in here. So we'll just add in like a white noise riser, and that's going to be really cool. If it would load faster, I just don't know what's going on. It feels like everything loads so much slower now that I've come back. And then, you know, just a regular kind of effect riser over here. Put that over there. Automate the filter cutoff. Have that rise in. And then the same thing, just as placeholders. So pretty cool stuff. Let's just do another one. Where is it? Over here. Just like that. Just to give you an idea. What did I just do? A lot of chaos. And then, you know, like right here, you could just do doing it, and then you're like, okay, let's, you know, do like a filter, and it's distorting, or it's like a bandpass and it's distorting into like an amp or something. So it's just like a basic thing, and then you just kind of take that and you and then all you do is you just distort it with that new plugin that you were thinking of distorting it with, which is, there it is, tape, right here. I'm not on the tape hype train. I don't think it's what makes or break a track. I just like to use it on one instrument or two, maybe two instruments in a session. Because if you oversaturate your track, it sounds like shit, to be honest. So that's just a personal thing. And then, so you get something like this. I kind of messed it up, but that's cool. All right, so just as an idea, we just go from this to this. Let's listen to it. Let's listen to our track. I mean, I'm bringing this to completion. I'm probably going to edit this because there's some stuff in here. Now, you know, I'm going to get more in line with this YouTube format, so it's going to get edited. So that way I can completely, curate the perfect image on YouTube, and I will appear infallible, even though I can't finish a complete sentence. There you go. There's the music maker method and what it leads to. It leads to an idea. Within an hour of your time, you can have something that you can work with. And from this, I would take this idea personally and I would steal all that lovey-doveyness that's in there, that sort of bumpy happiness, and I would turn it into something artistically serious and a representation of myself, which would seriously limit the scope of people that would be willing to hear it, but that doesn't matter. I'm an artist, and as an artist, I can choose what I want to make, just like artists who paint white paintings. Anyway, so, hopefully that was helpful. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment. If you've never left a comment before, you'd be amazed at just how quickly you can leave a comment and perhaps even get a response. Sometimes I respond to these. And eventually someday when I'm super duper popular on this channel, I may not have the time, or I'll have a secretary or somebody that types up responses and they sound just like me. Who knows? Anyway, guys, have a good one, and I will see you around.